Devoting yourself to being better, knowing better, those are good genes. It's down to the DNA, staying solid like I was a Marine. If the heat's on, I can handle the pressure. If the mic's on, I can give you a lecture. If your ear's on, I'ma give you a blessing. Strategize, opportunities, progression. Repetition until it turn into perfection. Repetition until it turn into perfection. Repetition until it turn into perfection. Better tell 'em. The world don't stop just cause you're grieving. Better tell 'em. Funeral last week, rent due this evening. Better tell 'em. Red pill, blue pill, pick a side. Better tell 'em. Shit get real, better guard your life. Better tell 'em.
Back again, your favorite cousins with the Good Genes podcast with your co-hosts Hailey and
Necia.
We got a special guest today. And I'm going to give you a few of her accolades, or as 21 Savage would say, accolades, and let you know how wonderful she is. So she is a mom, CPA, divine creative, a financial alchemist, an author, a blazer queen, a dog mom, and an overall boss chick. Today we have the wonderful Latifah Paramore.
Thank you.
Welcome to Good Genes. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to be a guest.
It feels good. Everybody gonna look and be like, she looks so familiar. So for those who are saying that, yes, this is Samia's mom. They gonna be like, I know her. She looked familiar. I met the wonderful Latifah, whatever you want to call her, at a very young age. I grew up dancing with her daughter. Her mom actually started the dance company that we dance for, and we have been family since then. We have continued to grow as family and even be work family now. So, yes, that's how you all know the wonderful Latifah.
Thank you, Hailey. Thank you.
So, for those of you for people who don't know you at all, or maybe those who only know you from your career in the community, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey to a CPA, or maybe why you even knew finance was the world you want to be in.
I love that question. So I say that I fell in love with the entertainment industry watching my mother perform Jay Henson, formerly Jackie Koontz. I remember being in the audience, watching her on stage, and just thinking she was just like larger than life, because it's a magnetic feeling when you're watching creatives and performers. And so she says that I had a natural propensity at a young age for money. I can remember asking her to count her money. And one thing she would say is, she said, yeah, you can count it, but every dollar, every penny better come back. And every time it came back. And I could remember just imagining myself negotiating deals, high profile deals, or in my mind. And she says by the age of 4, I was backstage negotiating deals for her. I wouldn't say negotiating deals, but definitely in the mix. I was definitely a busybody. So I didn't know what that was called. Honestly, I thought it was marketing, because in entertainment, you hear like artist manager a lot. Oh, that's the manager. So I honestly thought it was more like marketing or management. And it wasn't until I was in college. I've had several divine interventions, I say, in my life. And so one of my aunts, she's passed away now, Tora Bell, we called her Aunt Loretta. But Aunt Loretta, she always wanted to be an accountant or a CPA, but through life circumstances, she was not able to do that herself. So when I was in college, I was talking to her. I said, Auntie, I'm in marketing. I was taking these marketing classes. I'm taking these marketing classes and sales classes. I kind of really don't like those classes. She's like, well, you should be a CPA. I said, well, what is that? She said, it's a certified public accountant. I said, okay, what is that? And she said, essentially, you have to get a bachelor's degree. Sometimes, depending on states, you get a master's degree. In some states, you have to have work experience, and then you have to pass a regulated exam. The exam, I've never taken the bar. I've only taken the CPA exam, but friends of mine who have taken both say that they feel that the CPA exam is harder because the CPA exam does include law. It includes auditing, it includes finance, it includes accounting. So I always help people to understand and say it's comparable to a bar exam or physicians when they go to take their physician exam to become a doctor is similar. And I think that's something important in our community that we need to understand the difference, right? We say, oh, that person is an accountant. Everybody's an accountant. Well, to me, accounting is you have at least associate's or bachelor's degree in accounting. That's an accountant. But you have people that, let's say, are self-taught bookkeepers that say they are accountants. And to me, that would be like you go into a physician's office and you have like a tech person that's drawing blood and calling them a doctor. No, I mean, a tech person can be a doctor, but if they haven't gone through the process, haven't taken a standardized test, they're technically not a doctor. They are a technician. And I think we need to understand the different roles in accounting, finance, and tax in our community to help us build wealth. And because if you don't know those kind of like fundamental differences, you may be going to the wrong person for help.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So even sometimes people can just go to like a tax person. They don't know if the tax person is an accountant, a CPA, enrolled agent, on the IRS, tax preparer list. A lot of people don't know that. They just say, well, this is the tax person that gets us the most refunds. So let me go to them. And I'm like, first of all, if you get large refunds from the IRS, you should look at your tax strategy because it's almost like they're holding your money for you until the end of the year, which you could have put that money into some sort of like mutual fund or interest-bearing account, and you could have earned interest on it. If you owe the IRS money, they're charging you interest. If they owe you money, they're not paying you interest. They like, oh, okay, here's your money. So
It's so good to know law. That's so good.
I think it's like if people look at it like that, like the IRS isn't doing anything for you. They just giving you your money back that you put in. And you don't put money in, and they like you have entrepreneurs, let's say, that maybe haven't put enough money in or put money in during the year, and they're expecting a big refund. It's kind of like, well, you didn't put any money in, so you're not, you can't get a refund. But it's part of educating as well.
Yes, okay.
So that was my journey of becoming a CPA, because my aunt said you should be a CPA, and I highly respected her. And so I was like, okay, if that's what she says, then that's what I'm going to do. And I always say that I'm classically trained. I'm from one of the big four. I was in public accounting for over 14 years. From public accounting, I decided to go in industry and work with billionaires and ultra high net worth individuals and their businesses. And then I opened my own accounting and advisory firm. It was merged with a global firm. I became a partner. And then I spun out of that partnership, created my own firm again. And then that firm was acquired by a bigger firm, a larger firm. And so, that's where I am now, Chief Growth Officer. But that was really my journey. In order for me to get here, I had to have all of that experience. And I am so grateful for every part of my journey, because I think that's what adds even more value to any situation that I step in. One, my mother was a creative and pivoted from on stage to off stage and teaching other people, right? So I have that experience. My ex-husband, we had a record label as well as a production house and a recording studio. So I understand from that part of the business when I help talent that I represent that's in the entertainment industry, classically trained. So every Fortune 500 company or things that they may experience, I've, been a part of. And then working for ultra high net worth and billionaires, there's a different skill set that you need. And I was always someone, wherever I was, adding value. I am guaranteed to add value. And so, and I've always had a humble attitude and wanting to learn, right? So when I worked for the billionaire in his company conglomerates, one of the things that I worked on was restructuring. That's not something necessarily that you learn in school, but you can use those skills and you use your career experience to say, okay, this is the best approach. And any environment I step in, I bring that human component, and I try to bring I would say the divineness of it. I always say I can't be like other people, so to speak. I have to show up as my authentic self, and I encourage other people to show up as their authentic self. So that's like my journey to how I became a CPA. It was just my aunt just saying you should be a CPA, and me then having to understand what it was and to realize it's like a whole world out there. So I think when people think accountants, they think tax. They don't think business manager of some of the greatest talent in the world, and they don't think CFO in a family office setting. They may, most people may think banking or tax, but there's a whole life in between it. And I think in order for people to grow to rich to wealthy, they need to understand what those components are and not be afraid to ask. I think a lot of times when people don't know, sometimes they are afraid to ask. But I think it's very important to ask questions. And people, like Einstein always says, if they really know what they're doing, they should be able to explain it to anybody, a 2-year-old. Like the people you're paying should be able to explain it to you with dignity and respect for you to understand it. And if they can't, they're the wrong people.
Love that. So, Locke, I just want to say congratulations on all of your achievements, because it took a lot to build a business. And then I heard you mention that 2 of your businesses were acquired by like a global company, right? So in layman terms, basically someone bought her company, gave you money for your company, right? And then you guys were partners. But what does a day-to-day looks like as a CPA for you? Because I've always been wanted to know.
That's such a great question. So today it looks different than it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? So for me, a day in a life generally would focus on relationships. So I would say in my career of entrepreneurship, 90% of my business has been referral based. Either someone knows me or I've provided services for them, but it's been referral based. So I spend a significant amount of my time fostering relationships with people I know and people I don't know. And then I feel that the best type of CPA or CFO is solution oriented. And I am a type of person where I believe there's a solution for everything. I believe that. And so, because you have people that'll just tell you no. But anyway, a day in a life, I'll get up. Of course, I have dogs. I check on my children. I send them like scriptural things every morning because that has helped me recently just level set my day. From there, I'll probably go to the gym, because if your body isn't healthy, your mind can't be strong. Like, you really have to take care of yourself. That's part of being real wealthy. Like, if you're waking up and you're feeling stressed, that is overall going to impact your finances. And I can say that because there has been times in my life where I would wake up in stress mode all day and then be in that stress mode all day. So, but I try to focus on mind, body first thing in the morning. Then I'll get to the office. I focus on fostering those relationships. So it may be a lunch, it may be preparing breakfast, a breakfast meeting, lunch meeting, or a dinner meeting. And then I would check on clients, right? Understand what deadlines are coming up. You know, this is about to be the end of January. We have 1099s that have to go out for our clients and, you know, subcontractors, W-2. So I make sure whatever deadline is, you know, I have to focus on by client. So I'll check on those deadlines by client and then work with the team to understand, okay, we need to set up this meeting with tax. We need to set up this meeting with the attorney that's handling the transaction. So I manage my day based on deadlines. And then once I check on the deadlines for the clients, oftentimes I'll connect with the clients just to see like if they're purchasing a house, them or their team, how's everything going with the house purchase, to ensure that whatever a client needs, we're kind of like at the forefront of it. Mm-hmm. You don't want people to drop the balls. You know, we don't like that. We don't want people to like take their eye off the like target. So to me, it's very important that I'm understanding deadlines and also understanding how the clients are feeling. And, you know, they could be traveling out the country. Is there any, you know, specific needs? And then we have an amazing back office. So like I have an entire team of amazing individuals and experts in what they do. And that's something that I am a firm believer on. You get someone that is passionate about what they do, love what they do, but also are experts in what they do. Hailey will tell you, if it's like somebody, you know, sometimes people be like, oh, you could do your own lashes. Why? Why would I do that?
Thank you.
And yes, that's somebody that's an expert doing that. Why not do that? You know, it's like people tend to do that. But it's just like, oh, you know, you can do it. Yeah, but why don't I just get an expert? Why do I don't have to do try runs. Mm-hmm. I like working with people that's tried, tested, and proven. Mm-hmm. And I'll give people opportunities, but where I am in my life and my career, you have to be tried, tested, and proven, and sometimes credentialized in order for me to do business with you, because I just feel that sometimes when you do give people that don't have the experience opportunity, what they lack is accountability.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
That's a word.
That's a word. It's a word.
Accountability.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I'm not going to fight you on how you should be accountable, you know, and what you're doing. And what I have come to realize is everyone has their own experience. Everyone has their point of view. And I can respect it and not appreciate it or be a part of it. Like I can respect that's your code and how you do business. That's not my code and how I do business. And it's okay for us to not do business, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like because I am a CPA or a CFO, Chief Financial Officer of people in the entertainment industry and athletes, people think it's like all entertainment, all athletes.
It's all fun.
It's not all fun. Like the first thing was sometimes when I interview people, I'm like, who's your favorite, you know, singer? Who's your favorite rapper? Who I need to know when the groupie gonna come out because
Thank you.
Yeah. No, like you're not messing it. You're not gonna run my business because you're a group.
Because we actually here to handle their business. Yeah, not their fan, right?
Listen, we here to handle their business. We not here. They don't want another groupie.
Right.
So, and I tell people that it is all work. That the entertainment part of potentially going to concerts or they're at this and that, that's extra. You're here to do a job and business. And so I think my day-to-day skills would be like multifold, not just the CPA skill, but kind of like project management, sometimes therapists, like it's quality business development. So it's multiple things. And I can say I love where I am in my life right now. Like just overall, I just wake up every day so happy and so grateful. But it was times when I wasn't so happy and grateful. So I'm really leaning into, wow, I have another day at life.
Right.
I have another day to try and not be so hard on myself. So every day is going to change, but every day I'm stepping into it with a heart of gratitude.
Love that.
Me too.
Love that.
So I know like a hot topic in general now is more people trying to understand generational wealth, what that looks like, how to build that. And I want to talk about a few things with that. The difference between having money, being rich, and being wealthy.
Right.
And then we also talk a lot about building generational wealth, but what you do on a day-to-day is maintaining generational wealth. So just talking about like the tiers of wealth, and then how once you hit generational wealth, how do you maintain that versus just building it?
I love all those questions. Okay, I'm going to try to break it down. So to me, getting money is, I'm getting money. I'm going out here. If I want to go to the club this weekend, if I want to go on a trip this weekend, I'm getting money. I'm getting a little bit of money, so then I could spend it like sporadically. You get money. Rich is you have the ability to spend. You have the ability to spend. And I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I want $1 million. I want $2 million. I want to be a multimillionaire. But do you really want to be a multimillionaire, or do you just want to spend millions? Do you just want to
difference?
Do you just want to stunt on you want to stunt? That's all. People, I want to be a multimillionaire so I can stunt really, or I could spend. So I feel like people that are rich are in that mode of spending money. Wealthy people, and when you start thinking about wealth, it's about discipline and saving.
Perfect.
And so on a day-to-day basis, not only do we help people maintain, but we help people grow. And because the key thing that most people don't own are assets. And assets are a key part of generational wealth. And no disrespect and no hate on anybody that buys their mama, girlfriend, whoever, boyfriend a car. But even if you buy a car for work, let's say you buy somebody a car for work activities, right? It's still technically not an asset that's going to appreciate. So it's like every time I see so many people on social media buying people cars, and I'm like, that's so nice. I'm so nice to them. I'm like, I can't wait till I start seeing people like, oh, I bought this land, I bought this house, because people don't realize that's where it starts. So I say going from getting money to rich is getting money is like you get money and you spending it sporadically. You could do small things. Rich is you got a little bit more money. Maybe you could buy $100,000 car. You could do like
Save more.
Well, no, rich is people that have the rich mindset is focused more on spending that money they got. I want to stunt on everybody. I want to be rich. That's why I love that said gator boots
With a pimped out Gucci suit.
That's
Got no job, but I stay fly.
That's rich to us.
Yes.
That's rich to the community.
Our community got it so messed up when it comes to that.
And then wealth is like, I am not buying those Gucci gator boots. I am going to take that money and I'm going to invest it in a small piece of land. I'm going to, because, if people make it seem like it's so hard, you can start with $1.
Seriously.
I just want everybody to open up a 401k or a mutual fund account and put $1 in.
So,
And put $1 in every week. Start with $1 every week. Start with $1 every week. And then they'll start seeing it grow. Because guess what? Compound interest. Compound interest.
Yeah.
If you said, okay, 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. But if you say 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times, that's compound interest.
Yes.
Is like multiplying your money, not just adding to it. And so I think people are afraid, and I don't care how old you are, if you just start with, and that's that's what people really don't realize, where they don't, I don't think they take the compound interest into like their mind when they're thinking about how am I going to get wealthy? One. So people don't have, I think, the discipline. And some people don't have the type of education, like they don't even know where to start. But you know what I was thinking on the way over here? I'm like, how many people actually have relationships with their bankers?
Right? Like, it's so funny because the Chase Bank I go to, the branch, I have 2 of their employees' personal cell phone numbers in my cell phone. And sometimes, like, I had to do a big transaction a while ago, and I had hit her up, like, you gonna be working on Thursday? She's like, yeah, come in. I'm gonna make sure, you know, they had the Chase private and all of that. You have to make a certain amount, but they teach you about different products too. Even if you're not ready for it financially, like they was telling me about Chase private client before I could qualify. I didn't have $100,000, but I knew about it. So it kind of gave me like the aspiration, like, okay, it's attainable because I already know about it. My homegirl putting me on. And you're right, like you have to have like a CPA, a banker. Like we should personally know these people.
I'm so glad you said that. You said so many things just now. But right there, before you even could qualify, they letting you know how to qualify. And every Chase that you go to, from my experience, they have that same level of service. And they even have a I opened up a self-directed investment account with them. And I was doing my own transactions, like, oh, okay. You could search, you could pick it. And I'm not an investment person. I have my own like financial planner that does the investing, because you have to have separate licenses for that. So that's not a strength of mine. My strength is ideation, to build businesses, to sell. That's what I love to do. That is what I love to do. So back to what you were saying, wealth, maintaining it. And to maintain, so one is, a lot of people don't have the discipline to start with the wealth creation, because I am a firm believer, and this is my own thoughts. I'm a firm believer that generational wealth needs at least 2 generations. You have to plan for at least 2 generations. That's like, let's say people live to 6, that's 120 years, just on average. You planning for 2 generations. Of course, they'll be born younger, blah, blah, blah. But imagine if we planned for 100 years. As families. And I know with slavery, the impact of slavery, as well as after slavery, Jim Crow laws, and there is a unfairness to the system. That is a fact. There is an unfairness to the system. Period. However, I think if we planned more for the future, and I feel like maybe some of our families have been afraid to plan, because guess what? Look at Rosewood. Rosewood, a thriving, predominantly Black town, was massacred. Black Wall Street. There's so many examples in recent history where even they said where it's Central Park is in New York, that was predominantly Black. So you have a history of Black families planning, and someone else or something else impacts their plan. So I think there's a bit of fear in the community around planning that I think we have to work through and get through. So you need at least 2 generations to have the buy-in, right? So building wealth starts with discipline, and it starts with knowledge. One of my former clients, extremely wealthy, African-American woman, I asked her, how did you amass like most of your wealth? What would you recommend? And she said 2 things that I can remember. She said, 1, you have to have a team that's in the know. Back to your point, right? Because if you have a team that says, hey, I know that Apple the new version of Apple, because this is the past, but she said she got in friends and family round of investing for a lot of like the key companies now, right? So because she had a team of people that was in the know, that allowed her an advantage. So now she could invest in friends and family.
She can invest early.
So it's really having that team around you that's going to think about you for opportunities. It's having that discipline. And I would say maintaining it also includes what's your brand, what's your family's brand. So statistically, by the time generations get to like the 5th generation, their family mantra or their family kind of goal is no longer like consistent or felt by the younger generations, right? And it impacts their wealth. There was a study that said, and this is not hard numbers, but there was a study that basically said if you take the Rockefeller family, wherever their wealth is now, is like 50% less than what it would have been if the generations kind of stuck to that plan or, things like that. So I think it's very important to have a family plan, because I think the last podcast you both ladies said to name something that's a dream of yours
that's too big for your bank account, but too big to let go.
I want to buy apartment complex. I was really going to ask you that. I want to buy apartment complex and buy my family a home to put it in a trust.
So one of the things that I love to help people with is articulating that dream. So you want to buy an apartment complex. How many doors?
At least 25. No more than 50, though.
At least 25 doors in an apartment complex. Okay. And then where do you want it?
I want it to be in St. Petersburg, Florida, because that's where I'm from.
St. Petersburg?
Yeah. Particularly if I want to get it down to, they call it the Deuces area now. But right around the corner where my grandmother's house that is off of 22nd Avenue South, if you know, you know.
And Jordan Park, which is a city funded.
I already see a lot that it used to be called Snow Peak. Like, I really want to buy Snow Peak, build an apartment complex there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So it's so interesting. I would be interested to see if that new apartment called Snow Peak, if they own the building and the land.
So it's no buildings on there right now. It's just an empty lot.
Yeah.
So I want to know who owns the lot.
Yeah. Yep.
I need to know who owns the lot.
And negotiate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. We can help you with that. But yeah.
Right.
But you see how it's almost like you're tangible, right? So the first thing is buying the lot of land. Then the second thing is, okay, how do you model out? How do you want it to be built? What do you want the aesthetic to be? And then, of course, putting it into a trust. It could be a family trust or a separate trust. And then one thing I love about the term trust is so many different types, right? You could have trust like charitable remainder trust, where you are contributing, getting a tax deduction, but after a certain period of time, that principal comes back to your family and your family trust. So there's so many different types that's why you have to go to an expert to say, okay, and give them what your 30-year vision, I would say minimum 30-year vision. What is your 30-year vision? Okay, that's my 30-year vision. And I think patience. Another thing with building wealth is you have to have patience.
Yeah, it's slow money.
If
More an investment.
If you think it's going to be overnight, it's something that I was reading the other day. It said progress is slow, but like painful or tragic situations are fast. And it's unfortunate that it works like that, but it's like your progress can be slow, so people think that, oh, I'm not making any progress, but you are actually making progress. That $1 once a week, you're going to see how you compound interest at the end of the year. You may have thousands of dollars just from that $1, So I think that's another thing. For some reason, our community is very instant gratification.
Yeah.
But we're not originally, if we say we are Africans, originally it's not about instant gratification.
It's not.
It wasn't about instant.
And even when I think about how you said by the 5th generation, they're not interested in what the first generation was interested in, it makes me think about having diverse investments.
Yes.
So if we take Necia's idea of wanting to build an apartment complex, she can build the land, and then we have a family member that's handy, has worked construction for a long time. Well, let's build an investment construction company. So now as the generations grow up, maybe if you're interested in real estate, now you can be on this part of our family's wealth. If you are handy and you want to be in construction, we have this arm of our family's generation. Then we have management. Someone has to manage the apartment complex. So we have people in that. We have government contracting. So now as the younger generation comes up, under our umbrella of wealth, they have so many areas to go into. Maybe we need family attorneys. We always need that. We need managers. We need all these things. So when it comes to you can't just benefit from the wealth and not give to it. So now as the next generations come up, they have more options than just daddy owned oil and let me figure out what I can do in the oil industry.
And I'm glad you said that, because actually that's what other wealthy families do. Like, for instance, if their family is in real estate, they will go, they don't have to, somebody will get a real estate license to be the broker or the realtor. Somebody will go and be an attorney and specialize in real estate. So it's just like you said, that when you create that 30, 60, 100-year plan, it's going to include all of that. And to your point, like some people say, oh, you can't pass down a job. You can't necessarily pass down a job, but you can pass down a skill.
Correct.
You can pass down a skill because, listen, my uncle did carpentry and he know to look out for this because he done did 1,000 jobs and that one thing could cost the budget to go over.
Yep.
So I do feel that that is part of the generational wealth. And when we talk about generational wealth, who does that encompass? Who does that encompass? Does that encompass you, your parents, let's say your children, your nieces and nephews, your cousins? Like, what does that include? And I think that's also something that you have to look at. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, another thing with wealth or generational wealth is those families don't necessarily look at the assets as their assets.
No.
They look at the assets as the family's asset. Listen, you went to school in New York. We have a family house in New York. When you get out of school, you're going to live in that family house.
Right.
And there's a family car. And there's so it's like it goes beyond where I feel like oftentimes we're like, this is my house or this is like my asset.
I built this. I did that.
But
That's so true.
it's starting to look at it from a perspective of, okay, how can this become a family asset or family house that can be used?
That's so true. I know, like, personally, I try to take on that same ideology. Even with, like, my personal assets, I don't look at it as my personal assets. I look at it as it's the family trust. Even when it comes down to my life insurance policies, my 401k, the beneficiary is my trust. Who's going to benefit from my trust? All my trustees, my family. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I think sometimes we're not taught to, we don't have enough of these conversations first and foremost. But when I really sit down and think about it, it's because the ones before us, they really didn't know. You get what I'm saying? Like, I was even telling my dad, he owns his place. I said, Dad, you need to either put me on a deed of the house or I said, do like it's a ladybird deed, right? I said, or I'm going to either, if something happens to you, because I just lost my mom and sister, so I know this stuff firsthand. If something happens to you, I'm going to have to pay capital gains tax. You purchased that property 22 years ago. What you think I'm going to have to pay? The taxes are not the same. And it was like, in trying to explain this to him, it was like kind of like, well, we got time to do that. I'm like, we really don't. So I told him, listen, if you don't do it, don't even leave it to me because you're leaving me a headache. You get what I'm saying? Like, the things that I'm building, I'm making sure my nieces and my nephews are not going to be left a headache. At least I'm going to try, right?
I'm so glad you said that. So I was recently having lunch with someone that's from St. Louis, and there was a storm that was in St. Louis recently. I mean, it was extremely devastating. Well, what they said was that most of those homes were like 2 generations prior that was purchased and paid off. And the deed has not changed. The deed, nothing changed, right? So right now, they are trying to prove their relationship 2 generations ago in order to get the insurance company. Because you know, with that stuff, it got to be the person who
is on the house.
But they bought it, they purchased it and thought of, this is my house. Like my dad, that's his place. He's not thinking of it. He's not thinking of it like this our place.
No,
I'm like, I have a younger sister. She's 7. Forget me. But make sure I can be able to make sure she's straight. Because then I'm going to have to go through probate and all. And it's not worth it. To me, it's not worth it. I'm not going through probate. I'm not doing it. I didn't do it when my sister passed. Because the money that she owed, like on her car and all of that, by the time we would have went through probate, those creditors would have got the rest of the money that was in her bank account. It wouldn't have been worth the headache of me going through probate court, explaining her death again and all of that stuff.
Let me tell you, you hit it right on the head. I tell people all the time, if you love your family, why would you, upon your passing, have people that don't even know your family, don't even care about your family, be the ones making the decision?
Right.
That's what happens in probate.
Insane.
People don't know. They don't know what you wanted. Even if you do a will, they don't care. You are just a number on the docket, somebody that passed and their assets ain't have a will, a trust, a structure, beneficiaries. So now they got to deal with it. And guess what? What you just said. And you got to pay. Your family will have to pay. And most families are not anticipating probate tax, or they're not anticipating that, even if somebody leaves you something, if it goes through probate, there is a fee. There's a fee. And if you can't pay the fee, or it doesn't make sense to pay the fee, or all these things, is like, then it's a lose-lose situation. So I don't know why. One of the things that I say is, if you love me, please don't have a stranger making decisions on behalf of you that
you had time to do it. Right.
It's going to impact me. And that's a stranger. They don't know me. And then 2, this is a great example of, yes, you worked hard. Because my great grandmother, she lived to 95 years old. One of the biggest highlights is when my mother moved her down here from New Jersey, and my mother bought a house and had her name on it. My great grandmother was like, "This my house? This is my house." She was so happy. That was something that really brought her joy. But it took my mother a lot to then, when she passed, kind of get her off of the house. And how they should have structured it was put it in a trust. But to your point, it's like people think about things more as their assets, as opposed to, this is the family. And the family could just be you and your younger sister, or, you know, there has to be a bigger view than just a longer period of time. Because that's just, so the other thing that the older woman told me, extremely wealthy, she said that she knew she was in it for the long haul. And I think oftentimes, whether it's the stock market, whether it's, REITs, whatever these things that you want to invest in, even real estate and land, like, you may purchase a property today and it may be worth, $10,000, but 20, 30 years from now, it may be worth millions of dollars, especially the way that, different environments are growing now. So I just feel like people need that discipline. They need that patience of time, and they really need to be thinking beyond themselves, because the one former client that I'm referencing, the African-American woman, you know what her issue was in her late years? You know what the only issue she said she wanted?
What?
She said, Miss La, how am I going to transfer all this money before I die?
Only.
Yeah.
To take her wealth and transfer as much as she could before she died. Of course, there was, different trusts and things like that set up for when she passed, but she wanted to give away most of her wealth, transfer that wealth tax-free to her and hopefully tax-free to some of the people that she was giving it to. But it's just like, that's what I want my issue to be. I'm gonna get rid of all those type of problems.
Thank you.
Because and a lot of people, they don't even realize, like, when you go to, that is a real issue. So not like, you cannot just go to your bank and be like, I want my $30 million. No, there's a process. There's wire pay. You gotta, you cannot, they're gonna be looking at you like, ma'am, you need to see a banker.
It's gonna be like, let me take you back. Would you like water or tea or coffee?
You try to get over 50,000. Yeah, you have to make. I know if I'm pulling cash out of the bank, I'm contacting my banker, and they ask for 24 hours in advance. 24 to 48 hours. People think bank have all this cash. No, they don't have this paper.
Yeah,
they don't have all the cash on site,
especially in today's society where everything's digital.
And this,
they're like, you want cash? Try to put 30 million.
And this is why you say,
they'll be like,
we can wire it.
Yeah, and we'll wire it in 30 days.
I was about to say, give us this amount of time. These things need to be passed. Sign this paper.
Yeah. Even when it comes to pulling equity out of your home, it's not that easy. You know what I'm saying? There's a process, but I feel like we just don't have enough of these conversations. So me and Hailey, we just appreciate you for coming and just sharing this stuff, because a lot of people, like we mentioned mutual funds. Yeah. My nephew just asked me, he said, Auntie, I just created a Fidelity account. He said, good, he's 20, going to the military, period, right? He said, how much should I invest? I said, just put $300 in the S&P 500. I said, and just every time you get paid from the military, you're going to get paid twice a month. Just keep putting $500. The military is paying for your basic necessities and all of that stuff. And this is the time to invest, because you don't really have expenses, So, and I was telling him, he was like, well, what's the S&P 500? I said, think about it like a mall. Instead of just investing in Macy's or Nordstrom's or Saks Fifth, you're investing in the whole entire mall. So your money kind of get in. I said it's mutually, right? He was like, okay, but I feel like it's my duty to teach him this stuff.
Yes.
At a young age. So when he's 30 and my age, he's way better than me.
And I love that when you compare it to, let's just say, a regular savings account. I tell people, like, if you want to do a regular savings account, fine. But most banks have a savings account where you earn interest. And you can just ask them, like, hey, do you have a savings? Because guess what? They making money off your money sitting there. So why you make money? But it's the small things. And I think also back to taxes, we have to, it's like, we can't do both, almost. I mean, I guess you can, but if you don't want to pay taxes and get refunds,
it's a ceiling on that.
It's a ceiling on that. I always say that people should want to take advantage of all of the tax rules. You maximize all of your tax rules. Some people, it may be okay if they just went to a round the corner tax person, because maybe they just have, they may just be limited in their, I call it the tax portfolio, right? But if you have someone that's an entrepreneur, that has a 9-to-5 as well, potentially, you have investments, you want to do real estate or have real estate property, like as your tax profile kind of grows, your sophistication on tax strategy will need to grow. And I think part of, like you were saying, CPA, banker, everyone now should be meeting with their tax preparer to talk about 26, or a tax practitioner, whoever you use, because it may be different levels, right? Your CPA, your CFO, family office, whatever the demographic is, friends and family, to help get to that next level. But I think that those conversations are very important. And when those conversations happen, it kind of takes some of the fear away. And I think that's really what's needed.
I was literally just watching this video of a billionaire, can't remember his name, but I love this. He was saying, it goes back to how you're saying it's your job to teach your nephew about these things. He said they have a family meeting quarterly.
I love it.
He sits down and he says he discloses basically his portfolio. This is how his net worth. This is how much I'm worth. This is where my money is. This is what I do. And then all the kids do the same. And he said, if I only teach them to inherit it, then I didn't do my job right as a parent. If I am afraid that they're going to inherit it and not do it right, I didn't do my job. So we spend our time educating. We're not afraid of how much money we have or what it looks like. We're going to say, this is how much I'm worth. And then kids are at different ages. So we understand that the older kids are going to be worth more, have more, do more. They're going to inherit more. They got a 12-year advantage on the youngest child.
Yep.
And he was saying, we just make it so that everyone is comfortable with knowing what it is. This is what it is. This is how it is. And I'm going to trust in my parenting and what I've done to raise you to know that you're going to be a good steward of it. You'll do well with it. But if we don't understand it, if our kids don't understand it, then what are we leaving them besides a bank account or, a house or things that aren't going to matter to them if they don't understand how to be good stewards of it.
I love that. And I love that billionaire said that. And it's interesting that when I was saying this statistic earlier about the Rockefellers, they were saying that that's one of the biggest misfires with billionaire families is that they don't provide that level of education to the next generation so that they understand. It's almost like really a holistic view of the family is the mission in the corporation, multiple corporations and things like that. And that's how you so I would say what I would ask this question to you both is how do you think someone like me can help the next generation? Because until you said what you said to your nephew, and I'm like, sometimes it's just that simple. It's someone saying, this is what you should do, or let me guide you through, especially that we live in an area of like Chat GPT and all of these AI systems that could pretty much tell you these things. But is it because people don't even, maybe they don't know the questions to ask?
Yes.
I think that's part of it, because I'm not going to even lie. I'm in my mid-30s now, but I was like 29 before I realized the difference between an accountant and a CPA and then a financial planner. I kind of grouped them all in the same boat at one point. But it took for me to start like making money and really like trying to sit down and be like, okay, I need a person for this, because I would go to my tax preparer, and this one I would just do stuff like at H&R Block, and they were like, we can't help you with that. They're not going to show up in court for you, and they can't do an audit for you. But let's say you're purchasing real estate and things like that. You need somebody who can be able to go in court and explain this to you, especially like I was telling Hailey a couple episodes ago. Let's say you're paying your maintenance man, your landscaper, your rental management company. You have to make sure you can explain all this stuff on a tax. So I'm like, okay, so now I can't just use a tax preparer. Now I got to get an accountant.
Yes.
Now I need a financial planner to tell me how to invest it so I can make sure, because the worth of $1 is decreasing every year. So it's like, how can I keep my speed at you get what I'm saying? Like, how can I invest it to flip my money? I think, though, a lot of people don't realize you don't know what you don't know until you need to know it.
Yes.
Oh,
that's what it was for me.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. So sometimes, like, a lot of people, like, they're going to watch this podcast, and you're going to be the first person they see to be like, she just broke down what a CPA is to me.
Yeah.
I know people personally. I know for a fact they don't know what a CPA is or do. That's how I want you to explain what you do on a day-to-day. And I know it looks differently from because you kind of handle like the more premier clients, so it looks differently, right? But I just think some people, they don't know. Like, if I'm renting a house, I don't even know. I'm not worried about capital gains tax. I'm not worried about put a trust.
Right.
Property tax.
I'm not worried about property tax. I'm not worried about if I sell a home, I'm gonna have to pay the taxes on the income that I receive. I'm not thinking about these things. The average person is trying to go to work and live day by day. I feel like now the average American now is starting to be concerned about credit, but they're changing that.
Yeah.
They've changed it. They canceled the 3 credit bureaus. So it's like I think having these relatable, having relatable conversations would help.
Yeah.
And breaking it down on the lamest terms, like,
Yeah. And I would say even like encouragement, because a lot of people will even look at you and say, well, you only deal with a certain level of clients or famous people, or where you are now, I can't see where you came from. Right. Some people don't even believe that wealth is an option for them. So I think if you continue to encourage people and say, you can do what the Rockefellers did, you can build this wealth, you can do this. It starts with $1. Some people don't even, in their mind, it's not an option. The furthest option they have is planning for retirement. What I can do in my life, the greatest thing I can do is get a good job, have a 401k, retire, and live my life. Not, I can go be a billionaire. I can reach as far as I can go and attain that and leave something, not just retire and I've done what I can and maybe if the house paid off, is yours. So I think a great thing that you do, because you have done it for me and for others, is remind them that they're capable. And you do that just by being yourself, by being an open book of things that you've experienced in your life and how you've overcome them and keep going to get them. It reminds people that it's an option. The only option isn't make it to retirement, and that's good enough. So that's what I would say about it.
Thank you. I love that. I would say while you was talking, I thought about a couple things. It's okay to have a great job with a 401k and all you want to do is retire with like no bills, just like enjoy your life. I would say that at the minimum, with planning for the next generation or your children or your grandchildren, is at the minimum a life insurance policy.
Yes.
Like minimum, if we can get a life insurance policy, and that's the benefit of like a whole life policy, right? It's a little more costly, but you'll have it, your whole life, or you can have a term, or you can have even like a death policy, because sometimes if people haven't had a whole life, when they get in their older age, they can no longer qualify because of, and I don't sell insurance. You have to get a professional insurance.
So we're going to bring somebody on this whole life.
A whole life and break all that down. But I would say it's like nothing wrong with that. I do think there can be a spirit of brokenness that requires therapy, and because I was even thinking about just some people that I've helped or even that have helped me, and I believe that if you are broken, no matter how much money you accumulate, you will always be back down to zero.
I was having a conversation with somebody. It reminded me that no matter how much you multiply anything by zero, it's still zero.
I'm telling you.
I was talking about how I love mathematics, and it made me think, like, mathematically, you can multiply 0 by a million and it's still zero. And what made me think about that, like in a analogy, is like if 10 of us came together with nothing to the table, we can't. We can multiply by 10. It's still nothing.
Still got 10.
Nothing. Exactly.
Yeah. So same thing with, and like you see all of the statistics on the lottery winners. They win the lottery and then they broke again. And I realized with some people that I've interacted with is like they have a spirit of broken or brokenness, that it does not matter how much money you throw to it. It was one person in particular, I helped them amass close to $1 million. A year later, they was broke.
Wow. It's a mindset thing.
Okay, even if they hustle back up with different things, but it's a mindset of spend. It's a mindset of spending. And I think back to what you need the discipline not to spend when you see that money growing, or if you invest in a stock market and you see it tanking, like you can't panic. You have to, it's You have to be in it for a long, at least 20, 30 years. If you take Warren Buffett as an example, because a lot of people love using him as an example, and I'm sure people know this, but I just recently, because I'm a math person as well, someone broke it down in math layman terms, which I love. They said, let's say, for example, if he had 4,000 different companies he was investing in, only 10, either 10 or 10% represents his wealth of billions. Think about that. We buy one thing, we want to see a billion.
Thank you.
4,000 tries. 4,000 tries and 10. And they said that statistically, most of his wealth was generated after age 57. And he was trading ever since he was in his 20s. Yeah. So almost 30 years for him to reap real benefit.
Yep. Yeah.
And then only 10% represented that. And I think oftentimes some people give up too easily.
Yeah,
That's
right. I love the saying when they say what you're doing right now is going to predict how you are in 5 years. What you did 5 years from now shows like the fruit of your labor now. So I just encourage like our audience. I try to tell myself this in my own self-affirmations. We're all wealthy and rich to our own right? And sometimes it's outside of monetary gain. Me and Hailey was talking about this.
Yes.
Being rich and wealthy, it could be I'm rich in mindset, I'm wealthy in peace, because no matter what my life look like, I still can manage a level of peace. That's something money cannot buy.
Amen.
So sometimes we have to just count our blessings and then say, you know what? I'm wealthy enough to know that I don't know certain things in life, but I still woke up today, so I have an opportunity to go learn it. I have an opportunity to go build a relationship. It's not too late. So if you're listening to this podcast, you still got time.
Amen.
I love that. I mean, there's a scripture that says God is here for peace, love, and soundness of mind. That's something, that peace. So real wealth, and that's one of my taglines. Real wealth is most of my social media. And I said real wealth is because from my perspective, it's everything was in addition to money, right? Because I think money, I love money. I love money. Money loves me, right? Because in this commercial day and age that we live, I mean, if we was back in the day and everything was barter, it'd be different. That would be different. Like the mango trees in my yard is wealth. Because anytime it blooms, the neighbors want some mangoes. So, money is, I think, one element or one component of it. Health. Health. If you are not healthy, just trust me, I was battling an autoimmune deficiency for over 2.5 years. It impacted my heart, my thyroid, my lymphatic system. Like when you're not physically healthy, that is a significant impact, right? You can have all of the money in the world, but if you're not healthy, I'm a firm believer in relationship with the divine. I believe in one God. I believe in Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Like that's, like I tell my daughter, that's my vibe. Right? They may have their own vibe. I was raised Muslim and then Jehovah's Witnesses, so I understand and respect all I would say all scriptural manifestations that may align with different people, right? What somebody else believes, that's between them and, because at the end of the day, we all going to have our own judgment. So I don't like to judge from that perspective, but I do feel that people that feel that it's something more than them has a different spiritual, connection
And awareness.
And so real wealth from health to that divine connection. I think relationships community and family is very important. That's real wealth. Those experiences of laughing, and, or even crying sometimes, but just being together. That's like money can't buy. Money can't buy those emotions and feelings. And I feel like when people are just aligned with doing their version of good,
Yes.
I feel like all that is real wealth and time.
But
Because if time runs out, it's like what you got. So time is definitely a luxury. And so what I do requires me, my time, my mind. I can never, if I give that to you right now, I can't get that time back. I can't get the knowledge back.
That's right.
I can't. So that's why I'm very, I have become very more aware in how I use my time and the things that I commit to, because time is like the highest commodity.
That's right. It's the only thing you can't buy.
well, we're honored that you spent time with us today.
That's
This
right.
podcast. We're so honored, and you dropped some gems, and we hope to have you back. We need to start having quarterly meetings.
Yeah. Thank you. Billionaire talks. Okay.
Because listen, we need to do what I thought about while I was here is like a 5-step guide.
Yeah.
Free 5-step guides for people. Like, hey, you want to start
make that happen.
this?
Absolutely.
Do that.
If y'all want a 5-step guide,
Let us know.
To multiple things.
thank you.
Yeah.
Drop the topics down in the comments.
5 steps to open up a mutual fund. 5 steps to the right savings account.
5 steps to real wealth.
Right.
Okay.
Live real well.
This is another episode of Good Genes with our special guest, Live Real Well.
Go follow her.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Awesome. Until next time.
Bye, y'all.
Woo!